Welcome everybody, everybody that's actually watching us right now. This is our first broadcast, and we want to interact with you and talk to you about a few things. What we usually do, we
Yes.
have a list of topics to share with you. If you are watching us right now, you see that we have the chat right here, and you have the staff, all of our cameras. We're gonna go through some of the things that have been transpiring for the last few weeks and what's happening with LNI and so on. Introductions, as you'll see, those 13 people in the chat, we're going to introduce ourselves, starting with our lovely ladies right here.
Do you mind if I start, Elena?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, hi, my name's Veronica. I've been an interpreter for over 10 years. I am from the Tri-Cities area. I'm social certified, medically certified. I do LNI appointments, and I also do conference interpretation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Elena Virrueta, and I'm an interpreter from Tri-Cities area. I've been an interpreter for almost over 5 years already.
I'm gonna get my mic up like this to my face. Can you hear me very well? Good morning, or was it good afternoon already? Oh, it's officially the afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Anastasio Lepe, interpreter out of Yakima, co-founder of Washington Interpreters, and I'm very happy to be here today and happy to have everyone join us.
Thank you. So my name is Juan Medina Blois, medical and social services interpreter since 2008, co-founder of Washington Interpreters, as all of the staff right here, and we're happy to be with you today. So we're gonna get started pretty quick. Okay,
Yeah.
you guys can hear me well. So those of you in the chat, thank you for joining us again. Good afternoon, Luna, Emiliano, all of you guys. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to give you a few more minutes to join in, some more people to join in. We have an agenda that we have prepared with topics that we're going to talk about this afternoon. We're going to be here from 12 to 2 p.m. as you saw in the email you received for the invitation. And I just confirmed some technical difficulties, but right now you guys can hear me well, so that's okay. All righty. 27 people in the chat, okay? All of those 27 people that are joining us, thank you again. This is the first time we do this, so bear with us as we don't look like dinosaurs right here dealing with technology. But we're figuring it out right now. Thank you guys. Now I see the same that you were seeing, Anastasia, with the 27 people. So now that we have more people, why don't we just get started with our program? So we introduced ourselves, those of you that were here earlier. So we're going to go and talk about some COVID-19 resources. And so Anastasia is going to walk us through a few things, and I'm going to read some resources as well. We're going to share the screen so you see some of the resources that we have compiled for you guys. It's not a lot, it's just general information that we have received from some government agencies, but pertain to us as interpreters. So with that said, like I said, bear with us. We're going to try to do the screen share and talk to you about these resources. So give us a minute and we'll talk to you about those. Hold on. All righty then. So hi, Martha. Thank you for joining us. So we have these resources right here. I'm going to be reading a little bit, and then everybody from the staff is going to chime in a little bit to explain some of these things. So we have, the first thing that we have right here is the CARES Act right here, federal stimulus. And this was updated on March 30th, 2020. It says, I heard there is legislation that has passed to expand unemployment insurance. How does this affect me? And the answer they have here is, this legislation will likely help many people, including people who typically don't qualify for unemployment benefits, including those who don't have the typically required 680 hours. We are waiting for additional guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor and are targeting mid-April have the program ready. And I think they had a typo here. It should have been to have the program ready. But what it means right here is you have to wait till the middle of April, pretty much, maybe another week. Anastasio?
Yeah, I'm actually looking for the video so I can share that. So Do me
I
a
have,
favor.
I have the video right here. Oh, to show the link for the video. Yes.
Yeah, after we're done with this, but continue talking about this section so I can catch up with you.
Okay, so the next section right here, the next question is, what benefits will become available to me? And so the answer they provided for this is there are a few big changes under this legislation. Okay, eligibility for unemployment benefits is expanded to include many Washingtonians currently not eligible, including many self-employed people and those that don't have the typically required 680 hours. So there you go. They have expanded this to self-employed people. And remember, as interpreters, we are independent contractors. We have a business license, whether we contract with DHHS under the HCA contract, or we do L&I work, we are self-employed. So yes, we are going to be covered by this policy. And then an additional $600 per week will be available to everyone on unemployment from March 29th through July 31st, 2020. And this is something very important right here. I've had even family members ask me, what about this $600 a week? Is this the unemployment benefit? Is this separately? Is it all together? Very simple. You will receive unemployment, and if you're self-employed, you qualify for it. And then you'll receive, it says right here, an additional $600 per week to everybody on unemployment already since March 29th through July 31st. So all you got to do is file for unemployment right now. If you are self-employed, wait another week as they are updating the system, as we read before this. All right. So it continues saying, benefits will be extended by 13 weeks for a maximum of 39, which is about 9 months. This is how long this is going to be. Okay. It'll be extended for about 9 months. This includes people who were already on unemployment as well as those who are newly eligible. So even if you were not eligible, but they made an exception, like you're self-employed, you are newly eligible. So this benefit is going to be extended to you as well for us interpreters for 13 weeks, which is about 9 months. Okay, and keep addressing your questions to the chat right here in the meantime as we read this. If you have any questions, you need us to pause to answer something, we'll do it as well. And then the next question is, I heard $1,200 will be part of this, $1,200. Where can I expect to get my money, to get that money, right? The answer is, this is a one-time payment to families that earn lower to middle incomes, but it is in no way connected to unemployment. This money will come directly from the federal government. Learn more from the IRS. So we're going to have a video after this that explains some of these things, but just so you know, recapping a little bit, if you are self-employed, apply for unemployment, wait a week or so they update the system. You're going to get $600 additional per week for 13 weeks or 9 months. Plus the $1,200 per person, it's coming from the government. It's not part of the unemployment. It's additional money you're going to get as well. All right. Hopefully we're all catching up right here. All right. So then the next question says, I heard an additional $600 will be added to my unemployment payment each week. When will that start? It says, answer, we are working as quickly as possible to update our technology to ensure everyone is eligible. Everyone who is eligible gets the full amount they are owed. We are also waiting on some additional guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor to make some final changes. That means it will take a couple of weeks to update. Very important right here. It'll take a couple of weeks to update with a target launch of mid-April. We will backdate your claim so you are paid from the time you separated from your job or otherwise became eligible under the CARES Act. So that's a mouthful right there. All this means is you have to wait until mid-April, especially if you are self-employed. So you qualify for this and they have updated their system, okay? And they will backdate your claim. So you're paid from the time you separated from your job. Whenever you stopped working, it doesn't matter if you apply later. If you stopped working on the 29th, March 30th, April 1st, but you had to wait 2 weeks because they're telling you to wait 2 weeks to apply. They will backdate your claim, so you're going to get paid for the time that you stopped working, since the time you stopped working. Okay. When will I know the system is updated? It says we are targeting mid-April, but the best way to stay up to date is by subscribing to the Employment Security Department's COVID-19 Action Alert updates. A link to sign up is on the Employment Security homepage at esd.wa.gov. That's right there. Remember that Anastasio right here shared this link with you guys, so you guys can click on it. Okay. Now, I see on the chat, Jonas just said, for some reason, the link is not visible to me. If we could share that link again on the chat, because, I think it was shared on the general chat. Okay. Let's try to share it on the general chat, everybody, please. All righty. All righty. So I'm going to go back to this. And then it says, the next question, when should I apply for unemployment? And before I continue, Martha says that she can see the link. And for our wonderful staff right here, Elena, Vero, and Anastasio, we do have the private chat window for us using the StreamYard. And then we have the general chat, the live chat for everybody. So let's make sure that we share any links through the general chat. Okay, now it says, another question, when should I apply for unemployment? Answer, 2 things affect the start date for your benefits. 1, the date you became unemployed and eligible, not the date you applied or were approved, okay? The start date for a particular unemployment program like pandemic unemployment assistance started on March 29th, 2020. So you may have been eligible since before because you're not self-employed. Okay, you have a regular job, so you are entitled to unemployment, for any amount of reasons, right? But if you're self-employed, you typically don't get unemployment, and that varies from case to case. But under this pandemic unemployment assistance, since March 29th, you are eligible. What they're saying is right here, wait at least a couple of weeks so they could update the system online. You can apply, and then they'll backdate your claim so you get paid since March 29th. I hope that makes sense to all of you guys, okay? Now, examples. You became unemployed on March 29th, but didn't file a claim until April 8th. It says right here, you would get regular state and federal PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance benefits, going back or backdated to March 29th. The other example is, you became unemployed and filed a claim on March 6th. It says you would only get pandemic unemployment assistance going back to March 29th, because that's the date that they approved the pandemic unemployment assistance. Okay? Now, sorry about that. If you were not eligible for unemployment before the federal stimulus package was passed, we are asking you to wait. I'm going to stop right here. This is bolded right here, so you understand this, okay? This is very, very important. And please bear in mind that we're all learning, but that's why we found this resource. Anastasia said, you know what, this is a good idea. This is a good resource. We all agreed on the board to share this with you. This is very important. If you were not eligible for unemployment before the federal stimulus package was passed, we are asking you to wait to file for unemployment because our system is not set up to accept your application. And this explains how a lot of people have already applied for this pandemic relief, this unemployment benefit, and have been rejected. Because if you were not eligible before, whether you were self-employed or not, if you were not eligible, you were going to get rejected because they haven't updated their system. So once again, and I know it's a little obnoxious, but they're bolding it right here for a reason. If you were not eligible for unemployment before the federal stimulus package was passed, we are asking you to wait to file for unemployment because our system is not set up to accept your application. We expect those changes to be complete by mid-April again, and the team is working around the clock to get them in place as quickly as possible. So I hope that sinks in. Now, the next question is, I was already on unemployment. Do I still get the extra 13 weeks and $600? The answer is yes. Everyone already on unemployment or going on it during this crisis will have 13 more weeks added to their claim for a maximum of 39 weeks. They will also get $600 on top of what they otherwise are owed. The 13 additional weeks are available until December 31st, 2020. If you have already exhausted your benefits for a claim that expire on or after July 6, 2019, it says right here, continue to file your weekly claim. You will be paid retroactively, backdated, after our systems are updated for the new federal legislation. I can't afford to wait to get paid. I have bills due now. Welcome to the club, buddy. It says right here, what am I supposed to do? Well, we feel you. It says right here, as we understand how important it is to get these payments to you as quickly as possible, and we are doing everything we can to get you the help you need. Many options are available to help you and your family in this crisis, many of which you can find on the state coronavirus response website. This is right here, coronavirus.wa.gov. And if one of you from our staff, please could type this information, coronavirus.wa.gov, and share it with the general chat so they'll have it. That would be great. Let's wait a few seconds. Angel Mercado says, I'm in live chat, but can't see no links. Alrighty then. We have to fix that situation so we could share the links. Okay. And thank you guys for your patience. We're working on this. This is the first time we do this broadcast with the platform that we have, StreamYard. So we're working on whatever, difficulties we may have with the links.
So Juan, if I may?
Yes.
Let's make sure that everyone that's participating has also clicked on the live chat option. So one thing is the live stream that they're watching, but there's also a little chat option that they have to click on so that they can see the comments. And in the comments is where the links are. If they're watching comments, then they should be able to see the links that I post.
Okay. Let me see. I'm going to go through these comments right now. The links is on the chat. Okay. Let me see something right here. Let me see something before we continue. We're gonna finish this and then we'll address the links. Okay. Now the next question is, thank you, Luna. She says, you are doing an incredible job. Thank you. Well, thank you for your support. And what we're trying to do right here is, we're all cooped up here at home. We can't go out. We can't be close to people 6 feet away, which is kind of funny. If you go for a walk, you have to be 6 feet away from people. But hey, we're right here, we're like, okay, we all need this information, so we might as well share it. So thank you for your support. Now, the next question is, I can't afford to wait to get paid. I have bills due now. I actually read that one. Okay. This includes information about dozens of services available to you and your family. This coronavirus.wa.gov, from food, childcare, and housing assistance to healthcare options, internet access, legal aid, and much more. There are also important emergency measures from the governor. The governor has put in place to provide relief to you in this crisis, including a temporary moratorium on evictions for renters. As well as it doesn't mean that you don't have to pay rent. I would encourage you to go and click on those links so you see exactly what it means. It's just that your landlord cannot evict you if you have failed to pay rent, because this is an emergency. And on the last broadcast that the governor had, he said he probably will extend that moratorium depending on the situation. So right now, don't worry about paying rent if you can't afford it, but know that past this crisis, and after all the help you can get from these relief programs, you will have to pay rent unless they forgive it. We don't know. And then it says help with utilities, cash assistance for families with and without children. and free school lunches. So there are a lot of resources because of this pandemic. So we're doing our best. So we share with you all this information. Okay, so we're gonna click on this video right now, everyone. It's gonna be about 7.5 minutes, and we're gonna be working on the kinks of these links to share them with you. And as Anastasia said, which is a great idea, please share your email address. We'll copy them and then email you to those that couldn't see the links. Let's watch this video, which is very important because it explains in more detail what we have been reading. Go ahead.
Today is April 4th, and it's been a little over a week since the stimulus bill was signed. Since then, there's been a lot of confusion about certain pieces of this bill, like who's eligible, do you need to file a tax return, and when can you expect to receive the payment? Well, in today's video, I want to cover those questions and a lot more that I've received over and over on the videos that I've published on the topic of the stimulus checks. Now, if you've already watched all those videos, this will help you sort through some of the misinformation that's out there. And if you haven't watched any of those videos before, this will get you caught up. But before we jump in, be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell. There's already talk about another stimulus bill, and as soon as we find out the details, I'll break it down for you right here on this channel. Also, if you have follow-up questions, be sure to put them in the comments below or join my private Facebook group. That's also linked up in the description below. Be sure to also check out the sources for all of this information, which I've linked up also in the description. Now, I've got a few questions to work through, but stick around for all of these because just one little thing could affect whether you get your check at all or in a timely fashion. Here we go. How much is the recovery rebate, also known as the stimulus check? It's $1,200 per adult and $500 per qualified child. Who qualifies as a child for purposes of this payment? A child is any dependent of a taxpayer under the age of 17. Now, when we say taxpayer, we're not talking necessarily about someone who files a tax return and owes taxes. We're talking about an individual that has a Social Security number. Will other dependents qualify for the $500 payment? No. The $500 payment is limited to children under the age of 17. What are the income limits? The threshold for the payments are as follows. Individuals filing single, $75,000. Individuals filing head of household, $112,500. Individuals married filing jointly, $150,000. This is the threshold where the phase out of payment begins. These payments are reduced by $5 for every $100 above the respective thresholds. Now, what about seniors whose only income is from Social Security? Well, as long as they are not a dependent on someone else, they will qualify. What about veterans whose only income is a veteran's disability payment? Well, again, as long as they are not a dependent on someone else, they will qualify. What about those on SSI? Well, those on SSI and any other means-tested government benefits are also eligible for payment. There is no minimum income requirement to receive this payment. What about college students? Well, only if they are not a dependent of their parent. And in many cases, a full-time college student under the age of 24 is considered a dependent if their parent provides more than half of their support. Now, I saw some proposed legislation to change this, but so far it hasn't gone anywhere. Will this payment be taxed? No, this payment will be treated just like any other tax refund. Will you have to pay this back? No, again, this is treated just like a tax refund. Is this payment subject to garnishments or offsets? Not in most cases. Normally, a tax refund is subject to an offset if you have a tax debt or you're behind in payments to any other government entities. The only offset that will be enforced for these payments is for past due child support. Who will not receive a payment? Well, the only individuals who will not receive a payment are those whose income is too high, those who are dependent of another taxpayer, those who owe past due child support, those who should have filed a tax return in 2018 or 19. Those are the four types of people who are not going to get a stimulus payment. When will payments be sent? Well, all indications tell us that most payments will begin to go out by April 17th. How will payments be sent? Here's what we know so far. Those who filed taxes in 2018 or 19 and have their direct deposit information on the return won't have to do anything. The payments are going to be sent directly to their bank account. Those who have not filed taxes in 2018 or 19, but should have filed a tax return, will need to file a tax return to receive the payment. And those with an income below $69,000 can file for free. You can go to the IRS's website and find their free filing, and it'll route you out to a vendor. You can just Google IRS free filing, but I'll also put the direct link to the IRS webpage in the description below. Those who receive Social Security will receive their payment direct to their bank account, direct express card, or by paper check, however they typically receive their payment. Now, if you are on SSI or only veterans benefits, I'll address your situation in just a moment, but there is something else you need to know here. Can I give the IRS my bank information to get the payment via direct deposit? I get this question a lot. So, Devin, I filed my taxes in 2018 and 19, but I didn't give the IRS my bank account information because I had to pay taxes. So again, if you included that information on the tax return, they already have it, and that covers about 70 million Americans. The other 80 million who are eligible for a stimulus payment will be able to submit it via an online portal in the near future. Currently, it's not available, but the IRS website says to expect that by late April or early May. Secretary Mnuchin said that the goal of the Treasury is to send all payments electronically, but he also indicated that some payments will probably have to go by paper check for those individuals who haven't provided any banking information or don't have any other electronic means set up. Who will need to file a simple tax return as directed by the IRS to receive a payment? Okay, this has been a big point of contention here. The way this is currently written requires anyone who typically doesn't file taxes to file a simple tax return unless they receive an SSA 1099 or RRB 1099. That means that recipients of SSI or only veterans benefits will have to file a simple tax return as of now. There are multiple lawmakers trying to get this changed, so I suspect that within a day or so, those on SSI or only veterans benefits will also not have to file a return. But for now, you do, so it's very important to monitor the website for changes. Can a grandchild get a stimulus check? Well, if you claim your grandchild or grandchildren as dependents, there's going to be an additional $500 payment per grandchild. The catch here is that you will have to file a tax return so the IRS knows you have a dependent in your household. And by filing that tax return, that could get you an additional $500. But you probably do need to check with your tax advisor before you do that, because there's a lot going on in your individual situation, and I'm certain your tax advisor. So those are the 17 questions that I've gotten most often on my other videos. But if you have a question that I didn't cover here, please drop it in the comments below. And remember to keep monitoring irs.gov/coronavirus for changes. Thanks for watching.
Let's address some of the questions that we see before we move to the other topic. We have 30 minutes per topic. Okay. And so I think it's about time we, so I'm going to give the floor to Anastasio. I'm going to be reading some questions, and, our staff right here is going to be answering some of these questions. So let me address some of the questions or comments in the chat from the top, not all of them because we don't have time for a lot of them. But it says right here, Emiliano, this is very good to know. Good information. Thanks, Juan Anastasio. And thank you, Emiliano. And thank Elena and Vero, because they were also very instrumental in getting all of this together. We are a big team, and everything that we do is just, an effort from all of us. Okay, it says right here, hello, chicos. I'm just joining. Pastora. Hey, Pastora. Thank you. Welcome. Angel Mercado, now hopefully you can see the links. And then let's see some of the more recent comments. LBA, I'm very grateful for this information. I wonder why Universal Language Service, who was the contractor that was awarded the HCA contract in this region, hasn't given any of these updates. Thank you. Well, they may be overwhelmed with many of the issues that they have, trying to get everybody working, but I'm pretty sure they have information on their website. Nonetheless, we're doing what we can as, labor union, trying to represent the 9 interpreters to help all of us in this time, right? And then let's see. Anastasia already answered this one. And then Rosie Rivera says, what if I worked 1 or 2 appointments a week? Can I still apply for unemployment? I'm not sure about that question, but what I do know, and I think Anastasia will answer that a little bit better. No? Okay. So what I do know is that if you worked, even 2 appointments, you worked, you probably won't qualify, but don't quote me on that. What I would do is, if you were watching this video and you saw what we read from the beginning, wait until mid-April, apply for your unemployments, and they'll have to deny you or not based on their policies. So if you worked a couple of appointments and they think you're not qualified, they'll probably deny you. If they don't deny you, then good. You don't lose anything by applying. If I were you, I would apply for everything. Get that help, get that money, get paid yesterday, girl. Okay? All right. So go ahead.
Something important to remember from those videos and from the Employment Security Department website or link is that we need to have had filed taxes for 2018 or 2019. So that's a very important factor that's gonna matter. So if you have filed, then that's what they're gonna go off of pretty much. So that's something very important to make sure that you have done.
Exactly. John Hayner. Hey, John Hayner. We remember you from the Yakima workshops, always representing. Thank you for joining us today, man. And John says, report the hours and they adjust the account you received or they received. Yeah, that's actually, very, very helpful. Rosie, report any hours and they'll adjust it. So that's very good. Thank you, John, for that piece of information. All righty. So I think we could move on to the next topic today. And we talked about the COVID resources. I also shared, a link for the Small Business Administration and from the Treasury.gov link that I want you to click on that and see those loans that are 0.5 interest, okay? And they are, forgivable loans as well. So read all of that information. It's on the link that I shared. All right, so let's see now. The next topic right here is our petitions. As you see the banner, our petitions. So I'm going to start with letting Anastasio lead the way with what we have been doing and our petitions. Go, Anastasio.
Un momento, por favor.
Okay.
Just want to access my email real quick with the little list that I created for myself.
Yes. Let's give him a minute. It reminds me of one of the teachers that I had in high school. He
Un momento.
in Spanish, he would be saying, "Un momento, por favor."
Pero no lo digo con ese acento, sí.
Of course not.
Un momento. So, let's see here. Okay. So when it comes to our petition, everyone here probably signed it, I hope. We had over 360 something signatures. The petition was to allow L&I interpreters to be able to work from home and to bill at the same in-person rate as if they would have been covering the job in person. That's something that was left out when HCA interpreters obtained that option a couple of weeks ago. As soon as we saw that, we definitely jumped in and thought that was something that needed to be addressed. So we went ahead on, what was it, April 29th? We went ahead and created a petition on moveon.org, which said exactly that. Most of you saw it, signed it, we got it together, and we passed it on to Joe Sachs, which is the director of L&I, and including the governor. Immediately after, well, we passed it on, we created it on Sunday, 29th, and we made it public the following day, which was a Monday, the 30th. And in 3 days, we obtained those 350 plus signatures. And in that was somewhere around the 1st or 2nd, we forwarded over to them, called them, pressured them to look into this matter. They held an emergency meeting, and they quickly found a solution, which was something that made sense, something that was done with HCA interpreters, and something that was needed to be done with L&I interpreters. Treat us fairly or treat us equally. We have a lot of groups out there that are taking credit for this. Everyone is taking credit for this. Even individuals are taking credit for it, and they should. they should take credit because we all, many of us signed that petition. Many of us are affected by not being able to work from home, just like other interpreters. So yeah, everyone should take credit for it. But if you want to know the facts, if you want to know the origins of where that petition came from and at what time, well, I thought we share a lot of the information on when those petitions were created. So as you can see here, I've got Sunday, March 29th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Okay, and it says here the time and the petition. Thanks for creating the petition. Allow LNI interpreters to work from home and be compensated by the in-person fee schedule. So you got a date and time there. That's when we thought that we get straight to it and do something about it. We were talking to LNI over the phone, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. So we figured that we get all the interpreters that are concerned to participate. And that was the date that that we literally went in there, created this petition, and sent it out. So what happened? That's March 29th. That's a Sunday. In those next days is when all this happened. And if I can go through my email, you will see that a few days after that, people got this response from Labor and Industries, where they're saying temporary interpretive services via video remote telephone policy from Labor and Industries. And if you all remember the date, okay, that's the date, April 3rd, which I believe was a Friday already. So they made all this official between Thursday and Friday because of all the work that we've been doing a week prior, all the signatures that we gathered in such a short time span, all the calls that we made and pressured. And if we could, we would also like to show you, a response to that same petition from the people that we petitioned, the governor or Joe Sachs. Well, Joe Sachs is more readily available than the governor during this crisis. So we do have a response back from Joe Sachs, the director of LNI, acknowledging this. Yes, Juan?
Oh yeah, no. I don't mean to intrude right here, but we do have those emails to share on the screen. The emails that show when we started communicating with LNI, asking for these meetings. We talked to Megan Lemon. We forwarded the petition to the governor and Joe Sachs. The response we got from them. So just wanted to let you know, and we're doing what we can because some of this information was compiled to the last minute. That's why Anastasio, sometimes is showing his cell phone, but we do have those links as well. Go ahead, Anastasio.
Well, yeah. Why don't if there's a possibility that we can share those things right here on the screen, just to allow people to quickly see the times and the dates, so they can get a good idea of the chronological order that I'm trying to establish, so that people can definitely see who was doing the legwork, who was doing the pressuring to LNI to get this done. A lot of people know already that 355, 60 people that signed that petition, all LNI interpreters and other interpreters that do also HCA appointments that supported this petition. They know who's been on top of LNI. They know who is standing up and advocating for those for that forgotten section of the interpreters. So it's very important for us and for everyone to understand who's leading this advocacy, because there's a lot more details that we're working on, not just to assure that LNI interpreters can work from home and bill as if they were in person. There's other details that are very concerning. I'm sure that by now people are thinking about well, how long can I bill for? I mean, part of that policy, Chapter 14, states that waiting time is not included. Many interpreters aren't even aware of the waiting time policy or that factor that we can include waiting time when we're interpreting in person. I didn't even know about it until a couple of months ago, until Juan pointed that out to me. So waiting time cannot be included when you're working from home, covering LNI appointments. So that's something that people must understand. If you read that, hopefully we can share chapter 14, or that email that Elle and I sent out with all the policies, and maybe we can go into that and explain a few sections of it, so like that people can understand what you shouldn't do. But maybe I can release a little bit of the ideas that we've been working on, as in relation to those new policy changes. I think that we should get in a type of an agreement with labor and industries right now. It's a temporary policy, but I think that we should ask them not to be so strict when it comes to implementing the actual times of check-in and check-out while we're working from home. Because as it is, we're not going to have loads of work. We're not going to have a ton of work. And if these calls are going to take 10, 12, 13 minutes, you're talking about very little work anyway. And if you are supposed to cover like a physical therapy appointment or some kind of evaluation or some kind of work hardening from afar or whatever the case may be, and it usually took minimum an hour or 45 minutes, I would say that maybe L&I should be a little bit lenient and allow us to build those same time frames, even though they may take a little less, because we as interpreters, we may not be having to wait the same amount of time as if we were there in person, but there's still other factors. I still have to reserve a certain time frame of my schedule to be able to cover a phone appointment. I still have to get my surroundings ready. I still have to reserve that, offer that luxury of my time. I don't know if the appointment is going to take 30 minutes. I don't know if it's going to take 45. It can take up to an hour. So if I'm going to reserve an hour for a potential appointment that could potentially take that long, then it's during this crisis, temporarily, I should get paid close to that time frame. I'm just saying. So that's something, a few more details that we're talking about that we may continue pressuring L&I for. And Juan, if you have any other details that you want to chime in on as far as what we're working on. Some of these things I want to say, we're transparent. We're 100% trying to disclose everything that we're doing. As you've seen in our videos before, we disclose everything, not just what we're doing, but what everybody else is hiding. So we're very big on being transparent. But there's a lot of ideas that we're working on that we're thinking twice about not sharing right away, because there's so many organizations out there that are just waiting to pounce and take credit for it. Right now I just said that. Tomorrow you'll see an email saying, hey, my big organization thought of this first, and we did it because we have 45,000 people behind us. I'm not saying anything. You just probably know what I'm talking about. But that's the thing. We've been working very hard. We are full-time interpreters. We're not retirees. We depend on this for putting food on our table. We're very concerned. We're going out of our way, putting hours and hours to serve our communities and our fellow colleagues. Yeah, it's our genuine concern. We're nowhere close to being the privileged few. We're actually, the only privilege that I see that we have is the privilege to serve everyone here. That is a humongous responsibility as well. We take it very seriously. And Juan, if you want to talk a little bit more about those ideas pertaining to those new policy changes, by all means, fill in. But don't show everything, because we don't want to disclose everything.
So thank you, Anastasia. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go a little further back to show the timeline of, not when we started advocating, for all of us with L&I, but this specific COVID-19 situation and their face-to-face interpretation policy, when we started, pressuring with emails and advocating. But, while I do that and I set it up on it, Veronica, I remember we were talking about this the other day, you and I, how sometimes, and Anastasia just said it, WUFC takes credit for a lot of stuff. And you were telling me, that's something that they do. And so while I put these links and these emails, sharing it with everybody, can you please share with everybody right here in the chat? And Lena's going to have a chance to talk after that. But I was wondering if you could please share your experience, because you were somebody else that, as myself, Anastasia, and Elena, and many interpreters, you have opted out of Local 1671 WUFC because of many reasons, not just personal, many reasons that pertain to your job as an interpreter. But can you share your experience or how you've seen sometimes that they take credit for stuff that they haven't done? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I had been a WebC member since I first became an interpreter. So since they started, I was a union member with them. I decided to opt out after having emailed them multiple times, telling them about what I disagreed with, trying to figure out how they could fix what I disagreed with, and they never listened. I did get an email and I shared it with a few of you guys. I see some of you guys that I know personally on the chat. And I shared it with a few of you guys where I was told that if I didn't like the way things were being run, then I needed to be one of them pretty much. See, no, don't speak. If you don't agree, then don't speak. Pretty much is what I was told in very nice words. So the main reason, like I said, I decided to opt out was because after the elections, I was one of the candidates that was running for election. I wasn't a president or a vice president, but I did get elected by the majority. If those of you who are still in with WebC have access to that, and you guys can see that I did win by a landslide, I would say. And I decided to step down because I did reach out to them before the counts came in, the official counts. And I told them that I disagreed with a few things that were happening. A few things, the way things were done, weren't done by the book. I was told to file a protest. I had already protested the previous one. The same people were going to review the protest, so there was no reason in filing another protest if the same people are going to review it. It's just a waste, in my point of view, it was just a waste of time. About them taking credit, like Juan said, I was talking about that with Juan not that long ago. There was a union meeting where all the unions, the different unions throughout the Tri-Cities gathered a few months ago in Kennewick. We were never told about it, but I found out about it because I was asked if I could go interpret. Like I mentioned earlier, I do conference interpreting. I went in expecting to work, but none of the people that I was supposed to interpret for arrived. So I ended up joining the actual workshops that were going on for all the different unions. Milena took credit for us being there when in reality, she wasn't the reason we were there. We were reached out to personally. I can show you guys those emails. I have those as well. Like we've said before, we won't say something that we can't prove. Yeah, I don't know if you want to add to that, Elena. You were actually the reason I ended up with that assignment because they reached out to you first and then you passed it on to me and another interpreter. I don't know if you would like to add to that. I think you need to unmute yourself first.
You're unmuted now. Go ahead, Elena.
Yeah, we were reached by another interpreter from Wenatchee, so we went to do an interpretation service over there, and that's how she found out about us. So that I feel like people shouldn't really take credit for things that they don't do. And if I just want to talk a little bit more about what you were saying, I was one of the community members, I believe, since November through December. So I saw a lot of things that were not done by the book because I was trying to go by the book and a lot of things were not done. And so I did my protest and they said that things can be changed. Sometimes they don't need to go by the book. So that's why I opt out also from WebC.
Thank you. I was just about to bring that point up when Veronica was talking about winning by a landslide. I believe she obtained either 75 or 79 votes for a trustee position, which lasted the longest. I went the longest term, which was 3 years. She obtained the most votes from anyone in the central and eastern part of Washington. I myself obtained 60 votes when I ran for the presidency at Local 1671. So she definitely won by a landslide, and she definitely left that position because of the same reasons that many of us opted out from there. We're not promoting people to opt out. It's not an obligation. It's not a requirement for people to opt out to support us. But in our case, we couldn't establish a new movement without opting out first. So in my case, I opted out on January 30th, I believe, January 30th. And we created this movement, Washington Interpreters, on February 5th, which is about a week later. We've done videos, or Juan has done videos explaining the creation of Washington Interpreters and how we came to be. You know, we've been labeled a lot of different things, and we're not exactly gonna go and respond to every single one of those things, because that would be a waste of time addressing every single you know, thing that someone else's opinion that really is not productive. We're in the middle of a crisis on top of that, and I think there's better things for all of us to be focusing on, which is things like these, you know, trying to help our community. We're helping our colleagues, but indirectly we're helping our community. You know, if our colleagues don't have job security, if they don't have access to work, then our community is being affected. The patients that we're not serving, or the services that are not being given, the economy that's not being supported locally and throughout the state, all those things are what we have in mind to keep the system moving. And that's a big concern right now. People need to understand that life has taken a U-turn or a curve or something, and we need to kind of make sure that it still functions and goes forward as best as it can. And I think that what we're offering, or what we try to help people with, is to keep a lot of those everyday activities as employment and as services and whatever kind of help and support that we can offer. I think that's you know, our time is better spent on that. At the same time, there's an election that's going to be coming in September, where Washington Interpreters hopefully is one of the options on that ballot, and that we hope that we obtain your support for that time. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, because we're going to be going into detail about our movement next. Like I said, I don't want to respond directly to any allegation or nothing, but everyone here is free to ask any question, and by all means, we're 100% transparent. We definitely are going to respond to anything that you say. Nothing is going to be censored here. We speak the truth, and by all means, Juan.
Okay, so yeah, no, you're not jumping the gun. This is very exciting for all of us, and all of you guys have, you know, tons of questions, and we appreciate all of those. What I'm going to do right now, I do have the emails up that I want to share with you. So let me start with the first email that, you know, I personally sent to Megan Lemon, which is in charge of interpretation policies at LNI. So let me share this with you guys. Hold on, please. And anybody that's not speaking, please mute your microphone in the meantime. Let me see. I'm sharing this right. Yes, it is right here. So if you see right here, this is an email. Okay, if you see the date right here, okay, Wednesday, March 25th. Because when we speak, we're not just going to give you an opinion and boast about how we are the big boys on the block and we have done stuff 10, 20 years ago. That's not relevant to what you can do for me today. But what we do is we show you what we have done recently and how it applies to you, right? So, and keep in mind that we're sharing, you know, correspondence that we have sent to LNI, and because of confidentiality issues, we cannot share everything that they respond, but some of it. And I hope you understand this. Now, on March 25th, Wednesday, I emailed Megan Lemon on behalf of Washington Interpreters, as you can see right here. Once again, the date, my name. And I said, hello, Megan, I understand that this COVID-19 situation has impacted us all dramatically, and we are all finding ways to adapt. I have always been very appreciative of you, Susan Campbell, and her team. It's refreshing to see how willing and available you all are to address our concerns as interpreters. There are some pressing concerns that I would like to talk to you about, just so that I can inform interpreters in a better way and with all pertinent developments through Washington Interpreters. So from the get-go, I want you to please, appreciate the way we talk to, government officials, state agencies, the other union, they have been saying that we are disruptive, that, we are just divisive, we are aggressive, and we go to their meetings and disrupt, and we don't have any experience. Oh, they don't know how to talk to people at the government level. Yeah, right? So next, we continue saying right here, there are other groups telling interpreters that LNI already awarded the contract to a company named My Language Link and to One Lingua also. Why did we say this? Because I don't know if you remember that the other union, we'll see, they sent an email that same week on the 21st, I believe, saying that LNI had announced an apparent successful bidder, right? And so, but LNI hasn't officially announced, publicly to interpreters and everybody else their winner, because they have to wait for a period of protests to take place before they announce it. But WFC, which is supposedly not bidding for this contract, they were privy to this information and they felt the need to say, oh my gosh, they announced a successful bidder. So wait a minute, you are a labor union. You're not supposed to have any ties to this bidding process because you don't have a company that's actually bidding for a contract. So why would you care or feel the need to tell interpreters they have announced a bidder? Why do you have that information? Because that created anxiety. So we're telling Megan Lemon right here, this is already creating anxiety. I know that the best course of action is to wait for LNI to issue a statement with the decision. However, interpreters are already saying that the possibility of having an out-of-state company taking jobs away from Washingtonians is outrageous, especially amid this COVID-19 situation. Why did we say this? Because My Language Link, the apparent successful bidder, hopefully you've watched my video, we'll share the links. It's a company that's based out of Connecticut. And, right there, that's out of the state. Why choose a company that's out of the state to begin with, taking jobs away from Washingtonians? Today, the department sent an email to all of us, letting us know that as face-to-face interpreters, we can't bill LNI for services over the phone. Remember, this is from Wednesday, March 25th, and this is me addressing Megan Lemon on behalf of Washington interpreters and all of us interpreters. And that medical providers must use DES contract vendors such as Language Link and Lionbridge. Also, face-to-face interpretation isn't covered when the worker's home is the originating site. And I said, I am aware of the department's policies and how you are bound by them from feedback received by interpreters. I can tell you that most interpreters prefer to work, taking appropriate safety measures, rather than stay at home without any income. Do you feel me when you read this? You didn't want to stay home. You didn't want to stay home waiting for the government to save you when there's work available. And instead of LNI giving these jobs to companies they had pre-established, which I understand they had a contract with, whoa, this is an emergency situation. And I said, we have several government agencies in our state finding ways to offer help and resources to workers during this COVID-19 pandemic. Healthcare hiring policies have been relaxed so that more people can be hired to work assisting those in need. Many interpreters feel that LNI is not adapting to this reality and have decided to favor a handful of companies instead of finding a way to pay the majority of workers, which are face-to-face interpreters, when interpreting over the phone and through video technologies. Of course, if you have 1,400 plus interpreters in the LNI system, and I understand that LNI had a contract with Language Link and Lionbridge for video and telephonics, but you have an emergency and people can't get out of the house, it's only logical to find a way to get people paid, the majority of workers, not just two companies, right? And then I continue saying right here, I understand that this is very difficult and the solution may not be as clear-cut as we would want it to be. I would like to talk to you and Susan Campbell through a conference call, video meeting, or however possible about solutions that Washington interpreters would like to share with you to keep independent interpreters paid. Thank you again for everything that you do and for always being available to address our concerns as interpreters. Please feel free to reach out anytime. Blessings, my information. Now, you see right here that we have been advocating for all interpreters, and this is very different from what this other union, WFC, says that we are doing. They're saying we're trying to benefit the privileged few. Do you see anything in this language here, in this email, that is addressing the privileged few? because we're advocating for all interpreters, not just a handful of companies. Okay? And if you saw my video, that other union will see, was in cahoots with a couple of companies because they want to benefit their companies, not the majority of interpreters. So who is trying to benefit the privileged few? Okay? Trying to have a portal as an exclusive way of getting jobs. So you all have to pay commission to this portal, okay? Owned by people that they favor, are friends, and are in cahoots with. So who is trying to benefit the privileged few? So this is the stuff that infuriates me a little bit. We get emotional. We talk about, our videos, and we may show emotion, but in no way we're attacking people personally. We just state the facts. This is what we do. We state the facts, and you guys decide for yourselves because you guys have brains. We respect you, so we share this information so you see accordingly. So next, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to be sharing, an email that we sent. We emailed Joe Sachs, okay? So give me a minute, okay? Give me a minute right here. I'm going to put this email right here and go to my screen.
If I may say something while he does that, I just emailed the links. If for some reason I skipped somebody, I tried to go through the whole live comments section. I think I got everybody, but if I missed you guys, send a message and I will send you guys those links as well.
Thank you, Veronica. So right now, we're sharing an email that we sent to Joe Sachs, okay? We request to meet with them because right after we sent that email to Megan Lemon, we created a petition, as you saw, from Anastasia on the 29th of March, okay? And more than 350 interpreters had signed it at the time. And so we created this email on behalf of Washington interpreters. And if you see right here, that was on April 2nd. We had already forwarded a petition to the governor, but look, this is on April 2nd right here, okay? And we were waiting for LNI to respond. So we're like, okay, so we need to talk to you. Joe Sachs is LNI's director. He's a great person. I've met him once or twice, and he's a great guy. So we're like, okay, so it looks like we have to go and see what we could do about this. So we emailed Joe Sachs and carbon copied Susan Campbell and some of the people that work with interpretation services. And this is April 2nd. I want you to see this right here, okay? Now, here it says, Joe Sachs, dear Joe Sachs, my name is Juan Medina Blois. I am writing to you on behalf of Washington Interpreters. We are a labor union composed of a collection of independent interpreters throughout the state, seeking to represent our fellow interpreters in the LNI system. Thank you for bearing with me right now as we read these emails. I know that some of this information is a lot to you. We're just trying to make it brief, but understand that we're trying to show you what we have been doing. I said, personally, I have been an interpreter, independent provider in the department since 2009 as an interpreter. Before being an interpreter, I was an injured worker receiving workers' compensation benefits. Some of you didn't know that, now you know. I do understand the value of face-to-face interpreters when helping injured workers. This COVID-19 situation has impacted us all dramatically, and we are all finding ways to adapt. Currently, LNI policies establish that as face-to-face interpreters, we can't bill LNI for services over the phone, and that medical providers must use DES contract vendors such as LanguageLink and Lionbridge instead. Also, face-to-face interpretation isn't covered when the worker's home is the originating site. Just today, the department announced a temporary policy to allow work hardening to occur via telehealth. By the way, that was on April 2nd. So on April 2nd, I want you to know, by the way, they had not considered letting us work still, as face-to-face interpreters, getting paid the same and working from home. They had not considered it because they had announced their telehealth policy to allow work hardening to occur via video, and we were not covered. That was on April 2nd. So we felt the need to email him about this. Washington interpreters created a petition to you on March 30th. In just 3 days, we have 346 signatures. More than 300 interpreters have signed it. The petition states allow LNI interpreters to work from home and to be compensated by the in-person fee schedule. That's the link. If you'd like, I can send you a PDF or CSV attachment of our fellow signers. Please, and then we say, please email us back with your response and how you plan to address these pressing concerns. So we requested an answer from them, okay? Because we laid the problem, we laid out the solutions, and we have some other solutions to talk to you about, so we requested a response. And then we also want to take the opportunity to formally request a meeting with you and all pertinent decision makers for interpreting services on behalf of Washington interpreters. And we're telling, Joe Sachs, we are available in person, video, conference call. On March 25th, I requested a meeting from both Susan Campbell and Megan Lemon from the department. We understand the challenges of meeting at this time. And then we addressed, the other union and what they had done. We said Interpreters United, WUFC, announced today that they confirmed, quote unquote, a meeting with LNI top decision makers for interpreter services regarding COVID-19 policy. So we, respectfully said, well, we understand that WUFC represents many of the department's workers because they do represent WUFC, okay, Council 28 represents people that work at LNI in Tumwater, a lot of the workers in the building, but not interpreters. So we said they haven't gained legal representation for LNI interpreters and shouldn't have exclusive access to meetings with your representatives. As a labor union seeking to represent LNI interpreters, we kindly ask to be afforded the same opportunity to meet with you as interpreters and stakeholders in this process. Thank you for your consideration in this difficult time. Blessings, and this is our information. So we wanted you to see this because this is the way we have been communicating. And remember, they had not fixed their policies. So what happened right after that? Well, we're going to show you the response we got from him next day because they fixed the policy, right? And this is the response we got from him next day. Let me share with you right here through our screen. Hold on. And give me a few more seconds. Okay, so he responded to us on April 4th, a day after they updated the policies because of our advocacy, right? Now it says right here, good afternoon, Juan. Okay, Joe Sachs, okay, April 4th, okay, 3:28 p.m. Good afternoon, Juan. Thank you for your email. I will be asking Lisa Deck from my office to work with you to find the time for a meeting with me and other LNI representatives. The purpose of this meeting will be to give you an update on the procurement for a scheduling firm in response to SB 6245. You raised concerns about separately meeting with the union. We want to ensure equity in our communications with all interpreter stakeholders. Right from the get-go, from Joe Sachs, he's thanking us for the email and agreed to meet with us. So we don't boast about we have a confirmed meeting with LNI top representatives because we are the union that does pattern bargaining. What? You either represent legally LNI interpreters or you don't. That pattern is a bunch of hogwash, okay? You either represent or don't. If you're not representing legally anybody, like we don't, you advocate. They use all these made up terms to confuse you and bamboozle you, but we give it to you straight. So he says right here, Joe Sachs says, we want to ensure equity in our communications with all interpreter stakeholders because LNI interpreters are not represented by any union, like we said in that email, and we want all stakeholders, including interpreters, to have equal access to information, updates, and communication about interpreter issues. We will be relying on our website and the interpreter email update service to disseminate information. Any questions or feedback can be sent to interpretation@lni.wa.gov. And this is great. So they're saying right here, look, Washington interpreters, Juan Medina Blois, we're going to give you a meeting. Thank you for your email. Okay, I'll be asking Lisa to do that. And by the way, we hear your concern about equity. And so what we're going to do is, we understand that nobody represents LNI interpreters right now. So we're going to disseminate information, provide information, through our website, and rely on these email for feedback and questions. So they're leveling the playing field. So WUFC can't claim, oh, we know LNI. They're our friends because we're meeting with top LNI representatives. See through the BS, see through the hogwash, see through the lies, please. This is what we do. We present you the information with facts. And then he says, regarding, Joe Sachs keeps on saying, regarding the emergency COVID-19 matters, attached is a copy of the new temporary policy that LNI sent out on Friday, April 3rd, 2020. Of course, because of the petition. That temporarily allows in-person interpreters the option of providing video or telephonic interpretation during the state of emergency crisis. The full temporary interpreter services via video or telephone policy is available on the medical aid rules and fee schedules, updates, and corrections webpage. It explains that interpreters who normally provide face-to-face interpreters may continue to assist injured workers via audio, okay? Face-to-face interpreter may join the telehealth visit by video if a provider initiates a telehealth visit, and audio only. If a provider initiates a telephone visit with the patient, face-to-face interpreter may join the telephone call as a third caller. And then he says, best regards, Joel Sachs. So thank you, and we're passionate about this, so we get a little excited when we talk about these things. This is an email that we got from him. So we're showing you the timeline of these events, so you see that we, have been advocating from the beginning with all these things. We don't claim to do pattern bargaining. We don't claim to have friends, at the LNI system. We don't claim to secure staff before we do anything. What we do is we advocate, and we don't take credit for this. You know what I mean? We created this petition, of course. We took the lead, but we created the petition so all of you sign it. So guess what? This victory that we had a few days ago is not Washington interpreters' victory. It's all of us, you LNI interpreters that work in the LNI system, that are independent interpreters, that are providers. You signed this and you asked LNI, please fix this. You didn't demand, you asked. You said, look, this is a problem. Instead of giving work to these companies, please allow us to work. So we claim this victory. This is not about who takes credit. This is not about looking good. This is not about saying like, oh, we're a union and we have a track record of doing this, doing that. What are you doing for me today? That's what matters right here. So what we're doing is, because we are interpreters, you see Elena right there, you see Veronica, you see Anastasia, you see myself, and all of the people in our website that are part of our board, Alex, Liana, Jenny, and all the people that help, we are interpreters. Before we move on to the next subject, I want you to know, most of these leaders at Local 1671, we'll see, you know what I mean? We're going to address some of the allegations they make, but there is one important difference between them and ourselves. They have done great stuff for interpreters on the SHS side. Great, good for them. They believe that you have to have paid staff because they are paid to negotiate for you. Well, that's exactly the problem with this. These paid staff that they boast so much about are not interpreters. Therefore, they cannot understand our needs. They cannot understand how you and I feel. So when they bargain and they make mistakes and then give away their mileage and then give away, block appointments, instead of getting 5220 like we get in the LNI system, DSHS, DCYF block appointments get paid a minimum of $31 an hour. And then you're like, what? Why would you negotiate down? You know why that happens? Because of their fabulous paid staff organizers that are not interpreters. And some of their local 1671 leaders that have a DSHS certification and call themselves interpreters, but do not even do one appointment a week for DSHS, let alone LNI, ever in their lives, because they are court interpreters which have no experience of what we do as interpreters. And not to hate anybody, but they claim to represent the little guy, the worker. Some of these people are millionaires with big houses and everywhere else. And I'm all for prosperity, but be transparent, be honest. Don't call yourself the little guy when you're bathing yourself in dollars and dollars and dollars and dollars, and you don't even work like we do. Okay, so that's why we're passionate about this. We don't have to have a track record, quote unquote, of representing people 20, 40 years ago. There is nothing in the laws that says that we're not a union. We're going to address that in a minute. We are workers that got together and we understand our profession, our industry, our work as interpreters. We are more than qualified than anybody else to understand what we need. Okay? Just wanted to let you know that. and I'm gonna move to the next subject and let Anastasio, Vero, and Elena take over, because I'm a little excited right here. I get so passionate about this. Go ahead.
Oh man, it's gonna be hard to take over, man. I'm gonna try to take over. So I did want to allow our colleagues to go before me, but if I did that, I would have forgot something that you were just touching on. So with their permission, if I can jump ahead, um, you touched on saying that WFC or Local 1671. I hardly ever talk or mention them anymore, because we're 100% focused on our movement and on our colleagues, how to improve their working conditions without having to talk or mention other organizations, because there's even other organizations out there besides WFC trying to compete for the same negotiation. But if you want to go there and you want to say that we have no experience or that we're not capable of negotiating or bargaining on behalf of interpreters, well, that's just plain and simply incorrect. That's not correct. Personally speaking, I've been on the bargaining team for Local 1671 in the past. I did my best to avoid losing our mileage reimbursement, which the majority of the interpreters in the Seattle area didn't really need. They welcomed the salary increase and traded it for the mileage reimbursement. But what they didn't see is that interpreters are all over the state of Washington, and there's different geographical factors that affect our ability to accept a job, especially in weather, inclement weather, whether it's really hot, whether it's snowing. All those factors affect our ability to accept work, especially holidays, taking in consideration that the majority of interpreters happen to be women. I say over 60%. We all are all equal, but we're very and similar, but we all have different roles sometimes in our family structures. So we have to keep all those factors into consideration when making these decisions. So when we were bargaining and we were trying to point out that for some work in rural areas, 20, 30 minutes away, outside of the town that you live in central Washington for my situation, or in Tri-Cities for other situations, Spokane, Wenatchee, for all these other different locations, Moses Lake, there's jobs that are outside of town that you really wouldn't consider unless you had the mileage reimbursement. When there's cases where there's a high influx of interpreters, where the market is flooded with interpreters and the jobs available are reduced, or it's the holidays, or it's bad weather, or whatever it may be, when those factors kick in and there's not enough jobs and you're needing to pay bills and you want to take a job, well, you might just decide to go a little bit further out. You might just decide to take that little job out there in 20, 30 minutes away or more, but you were able to obtain that mileage reimbursement at a fair state rate. And then while you're out there, you might take another job and then come back, and your day would kind of be met. Now, this is maybe not a practice that you would always keep, but it's something that that came in handy as an option. And it's those options that I believe come in handy during times of crisis, during times of flooded markets of interpreters. So not only is that an option, but it's also something I call the buffer. A buffer because it's something between you and when I was at 1671 negotiating with the healthcare authority, this buffer was between us and the healthcare authority, because the healthcare authority's job or position is always to come in and wanting to take things from interpreters, reduce things. They come to our leadership and they say, well, we have 5 to 6% of a salary increase for the next 2 years, and that's all you're going to get. It's up to you, however you see fit to apply it to your contract, but we're not giving you more than that. So make it, fix it however you want. Basically, that's the negotiation. Then it boils down to, sorry, I've got a pop up here. And then it boils down to our individual feedback. If your bargaining team representative is actually doing his job appropriately, to come back to his district, share the news, gather the data, feedback, take it back, put it into perspective. We've been there, we've done that, we've obtained a lot of good improvements to our working conditions. We participated at that level. Personally speaking, I've also been a chair of my district for a good term in the central Washington area, Yakima, District 8. I've also spearheaded numerous amounts of committees, from the marketing committee that turned into the outreach committee. I personally led and created ad hoc committees that were, created on the go for certain situations. Certain situations such as the transition from CTS to ULS. I demanded to create a committee to charge universal late fees and interest charges for not paying us on time. I pushed for that committee to be created on the go so that we can write language, so that we can tell the state ACA, hey, these guys aren't paying, we're working, and everybody remembers that disastrous transition. I was very passionate about that. I stood up again at that moment of difficulty, and I created those committees within Local 1671. So it's very, I don't want to say insulting when people say that we lack the experience, when we've participated on every level in that union. To end this part of the me part, which I really don't like talking about me, but I have to, when they're saying that we have no experience in organizing and labor movements. Well, we have our experience. I mean, to end this part about me, I ran for president twice, as some of you know, during the holidays. We did present protests, all of us. Everyone that's here has either indirectly or directly participated at every level. I want to speak for my colleagues here, if I may, but Juan ran for vice president with me. Elena ran as one of the members in the elections committee. Think about that. In the elections committee, she was faced with looking at firsthand all the irregularities, all the favoritisms, all the biasness, and she just didn't approve of what was going on. So she wanted to stick to the book as it should be. And then, as we talked about before, in Veronica's case, she ran as a trustee, a 3-year term, and she won by a landslide. So these people here are interpreters who cover healthcare authority jobs, who cover L&I jobs, who depend on this income, who have participated with other labor organizations at every level, who have bargained, who have created a new movement, who are passionate about what they do. And guess what? Everything we do it out of our own desire, because no one's paying us. The only thing that's our risk for us is our well-being, because our employment is being managed and dictated to by people that don't do what we do. So it is important for us to set the record straight sometimes, not brag about what we did or nothing. We want people to know, in case you didn't know, that we're very prepared, we have the experience, and we're ready to move forward. With that said, Juan?
Thank you, Anastasio. I want to address a very good question that Leticia Mares, if you see all of you on the screen right here, it says, Juan, are you only exposing WUFC because you did not win or didn't win the WUFC election? And I think Anastasio just touched a lot on that subject right now, but I do appreciate your question, because you're asking this question in a very polite way right here. But here in the Seattle area, some interpreters that do not agree with what we're doing, some agency owners and some other groups, they're like, Juan, ran for that election, and because he didn't win, he's a sore loser. So they're perpetuating what WUFC says about us, and they think, we have a personal gain to this. I'll tell you this, on top of everything that Anastasio said, Leticia, and everybody that has the same, interest, any position that we would have gotten if we had won that election was going to be a volunteer position, not getting paid, by the way. And if you all follow our videos, my videos, our private, Facebook page, and the public one, I posted a video explaining why I took the opportunity to consider the nomination that I got for vice president. And the only reason why I was doing that is because, like Anastasio said, Elena, Veronica, Anastasio, myself, we saw that Elena interpreters were not being represented. I have fought along other brave interpreters. You could talk to Yesenia Mapes, Miriam Lugo, some other interpreters. 2 years ago, we have fought for WUFC to create an independent local union under WUFC separately from Local 1671 because we saw that we would not see face to face. They didn't want to acknowledge the independent contractor, LNI interpreter, and they pushed for that scheduling system. So if you go to any of the videos, and I'll share a link for our YouTube page, we advocated for amendments addressing that 2 years ago, and I took those amendments some other way. Okay, and so when I was nominated for vice president, I saw it as an opportunity, running with Anastasio, that has been an experienced leader there, to say, okay, they don't want to listen to the LNI interpreter. Maybe if we gained a couple of positions there, now we have the authority to say to LNI, you know what? Our leaders meant well before, but we as LNI interpreters want to give you this perspective. Let's review this law and make sure that all independent interpreters are paid. Okay? Why am I exposing WOFC now and not before? Very simple. I didn't know many of the things they were up to until I lost that election with Anastasio, because people started sharing anonymous things like the One Lingua contract, the relationships that they have with owners of these companies, their plans for a big scheduling system. So we learn as we go, and we don't really care about positions or elections. The creation of this movement, Washington Interpreters, was in response of, we exhausting all avenues to protest their incompetence, their disregard for union members, okay, the ostracizing of anybody that dares to speak against anything that they do, and exhausting all appeals, okay? So we went to the, Department of Labor, because Elena right here, and this is why I want Elena and Vero to talk after this. Elena, like Anastasia said, was a part of the elections committee. She's not a sore loser. She was an elected official. Veronica had been a trustee for years, and they were still out of this movement. And I'm not the only one exposing. When I make a video, Leticia and anybody else listening, hopefully our friends from the other unions trying to represent, this is not just my opinion when I make a video. We consult as a board, and we say, what should we be talking about in this video? And we together decide these are the facts. We should be talking about this, exposing this. We found these links. Somebody emailed us this. So it's not my effort, it's all of our efforts. When we put a video there exposing, it's all of us exposing, not just Juan Medina Blois. So Vero and Elena and other people from WOFC, like Anastasio, that before running for president or vice president before, was a leader, a district chair, they did not need the validation. They were already leaders. But they said, enough of this. We need to create a movement to defend ourselves. So hopefully that answers your questions. I'm pretty sure that even if this is enough for you, some other people are never going to like the questions. And we cannot, worry about people thinking anything against us personally. We're going to move forward in our job, our advocacy. What we do speaks for itself. So please, Vero and Elena, if you can please share with everybody, your experience with WOFC. You kind of like did it a little bit, Elena and Vero, but why did you think we need to create a union? Why did you join this movement when you were successful leaders anyway? Why don't you start, please?
Yeah, like I said before, I didn't feel like I was being heard. I spoke up multiple times and nobody ever listened. When I did say something, they pretended they listened and it never got anywhere. I emailed, my emails went nowhere. I got, excuse my language, but like I tell my son, I got smart ass comments, as in when they answered my question, they gave me a comment that didn't sound rude, but was kind of making fun of what I was asking. I do want to say that I was going to be a trustee for 3 years. I hadn't yet been a trustee, but I had been a member of WOFC Local 1671 for, like I said, since they began. I was a member since their union started off for the very first time. I don't know if you would like to add to why you left, Elena. That was my main reason of leaving, because I wasn't getting anywhere with them. So why keep paying dues? Like I've told many, why keep paying dues to be ignored when I can keep my dues and not be ignored and continue to be ignored, I mean.
Correct. And I just want to add this. If you are in a union, you want to be with the union, with people that is representing you and people that is being honest to you. And I talk about my personal experience being a committee member If you say this is not right, this is wrong, and they said, oh, it's okay, we can still do it. So you know the people is not acting honest. And my personal opinion, I don't want to be in a union where people it's just saying that we can do whatever we want just to make sure that we have other people coming into our union. So I'd rather to be in a union where you can trust us, or I think we are all union. So that's pretty much.
Real
And
quick.
in this movement, sorry.
No, go ahead,
And I
bro.
feel that in this movement, we all have a voice. Like I read one of the comments, have let all LNI interpreters know that they could have been a part of this. Yes, any LNI interpreter can be a part of this. I mean, if you've done one job or you plan to do a job in the future, you can be a part of this because we are the union.
Go ahead, Elena. Oh, sorry, Anastasia. Go ahead. I'm gonna try to find an email for Leticia right here. Hold on.
We could have, to address one of the points that was mentioned, when we're seen as disgruntled or sore losers, we could have just stayed quiet. If we had nothing to offer, if we have nothing, no creativity, if we don't have anything to bring to the table, any change to enact or to promote, we could stay quiet. We could let the powers at be do their thing, continue to manipulate organizations to gain more clout and push their policies, make the changes, as Leticia Mares pointed out there, that apparently our previous union pushed to enact legislature without informing all interpreters. So even though at one point you feel that the origin, the motivations behind that legislature is well intended, you have to be transparent. You have to make sure that everybody, all the stakeholders, all the interpreters in your state that you will be affecting one way or the other, you have to make sure that they are aware of what you are doing on their behalf. Unfortunately, our previous organization, union, did not make everybody fully aware, conveniently kept this information from all LNI interpreters or interpreters who primarily covered LNI work, and just passed this legislation with the power that they do have, with the connections that they have at the government level, and for the people that didn't have access to LNI appointments because of those monopolies. Of course, I was one of them for a very long time. I was one of those interpreters that could never get into a clinic who took LNI jobs. I had been walking into a clinic once, asked by a patient, can you interpret for me? And I walked in to get the door closed on me by a receptionist who said, no, we have this service here. We use so-and-so, only these interpreters, and that's it, bye. And that is the norm. And providers choose the interpreter. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So that is true. But I did get tired of that. But just because of that, I'm not going to create a legislation that affects everybody and treat everybody the same and blanket the approach. No, I'm gonna make everybody aware of what my intentions are, get feedback, make sure that this doesn't negatively affect a large portion of them. And after acquiring all that information, we can move forward in an accurate or more appropriate way. I personally do not feel like all interpreters in the state were given their fair warning. That's what I think the appropriate word is, because let's just say 40% of interpreters who covered LNI work lost their certification last year. And they just lost it because they didn't meet their 20 continuing education requirement set forth by our previous union. It's fine. I mean, if you don't do your continuing education, too bad, you lose your certification, right? But a lot of them didn't even know about it because they weren't union members. So that lack of communication with all parties is part of the problem. No one's out there speaking up, advocating, defending interpreters who primarily do LNI jobs, and all these things affect them. So now we saw that need This is why we're here. We saw that need. We're providing information as best as we can, as transparent as possible to everyone, not just LNI interpreters. Before the election, I didn't even use the term LNI interpreters. I called everybody an interpreter. Now that we're officially representing interpreters, or would like to represent interpreters that cover primarily LNI work, yes, I am referring to them as LNI interpreters because they are forgotten. They are pushed to the side. They lose their certifications from lack of information. They don't get to work from home and bill in-person rates when others obtain those rights before. We have to step up and fight for those people that are forgotten. That's how I feel like I can make the greatest impact, by standing up for the ones that don't have a voice. And in this case, LNI interpreters don't have a voice yet, but we hope to become that voice if they allow us.
Now, thank you, Anastasio. I'm going to share with all of you guys something. So we set the record straight right here, okay? So when it comes to us knowing or being part of any laws before, because that's, you know, and we're not going to answer to every little accusation. Like, I have made so many videos, I have posted so many, you know, pieces of information on Facebook addressing these things. But for the sake of, you know, transparency, let's share the screen so I could I could share with you an email that I got from Woofsy even before everything else. I want you to look at this. Hold on, and please mute yourself if you're not speaking right now. Hold on. Let's see, I'm gonna share this with you right here. Okay, so this is for our friend Leticia and anybody else that may have these doubts. You know, I wasn't part of any laws trying to change the LNI system. It's a misrepresentation of, you know, what we have been doing. If you see this email right here, this is from February 17th, 2020. And this was emailed to me. See my picture right here? This is my email address, okay? Now, it says right here, okay? Look at this. I forwarded that email, sorry, on the 17th, but this was sent to me on February 1st, 2018, when the law was already in the Senate. Look at it says right here, dear union member, because I was part of the union, as you know, as you are probably aware by now, and as we have done it in the past, this year we have introduced a bill in the legislature. Senate Bill 6245 would extend very similar efficiencies that we now have with DSHS and HCA interpreters to all the other state agencies, and it would stop DSHS from testing in languages where they are already too many interpreters. Okay, it says right here, thanks to the consolidation of HCA, Medicaid, and DSHS, interpreter services under one single statewide coordinating entity, currently CTS Language Link, we finally have accurate and ample data to assess how well language access, the language access needs of Washington State's population are being met. And then it says, you know, this bill will expand union rights to other state agencies, requires competitive bidding, okay, for web-based appointment scheduling, prioritizes testing, you know, and then it says, right here, SB 6245 will have a public hearing today at the Senate Labor and Commerce Committee. It is vital for each of us to contact your senator. So, Leticia, if I was a part of this law, how come I got an email from my union letting me know to support this law? If I was a part of it, I didn't know about it. Like all LNI interpreters in the system. As a union member, I got to know about that law that day. And we have 20 minutes left, so we're going to address these things real quick. When I heard about this law, what did I do with my colleagues from LNI, agencies, and independent interpreters? We created a coalition or a committee that was not a legal committee, but a coalition of interpreters to go and testify against the bill. And you could imagine the awkward position that I was in, you know, when I had to go and testify against these things. Yes, Leticia, there are many pictures of me there advocating against, and then we introduced amendments to address these things that I have explained ad nauseum in my video. So please feel free to watch my videos and all of that, because I know that you may be concerned and some interpreters may be. But what I would tell you is, instead of listening to hearsay and hate and propaganda, look at the videos where I show the proof, the evidence, and all the pictures that you see establishing a timeline. Okay, and this has been done since 2018. You're welcome to go through the YouTube channel. Yeah, so we had been advocating to that. They didn't listen to our amendments. We agreed to the passage of the bill without amendments. So what the bill did was tell LNI, you have to choose to give appointments through the scheduling system or through a combination of the scheduling system and independent interpreters, or both, or through the independent interpreters only. So what LNI chose to do was adopt the scheduling system, and they have limited independent interpreters to urgent care and emergency appointments. It's all been explained. And so, the conception that I had to do something with this law, I didn't write the law. Dennis Eagle, which is the policy advisor and the lobbyist for WUFC, he wrote the law. I'm not their pay staff, never was. I'm just a regular interpreter like you and me. So we went there, advocating for LNI interpreters, and we introduced amendments that they modified to their liking. And so, like we said, we kept on fighting in the inside, trying to gain some, power to see if we could let them know our perspective as LNI interpreters, because we said this is a good union. We could have a local. They promised us a local for ourselves, for LNI interpreters. They backtracked, and they didn't even let us have a fair election. So we had no choice but to create Washington interpreters. So with that said, I'm not going to address any more of these personal accusations. It's okay. They would say that I screwed interpreters in Seattle. Anybody could think whatever they want. All you got to do is watch the videos, watch the Facebook information. We're not going to spend time or waste any time responding to, these accusations. But of course, because you're here, you're important to what we do, you have showed up to a couple of our meetings. We wanted to take the opportunity to set the record straight. Go ahead, Anastasia.
Yes, really quick. There's tons of accusations. I don't know if that makes us. I don't know if that makes us. I don't know, famous or wanted, or I don't know. If there's pictures, I hope they say that we're really wanted, and that because there's been stories out there that are good enough to write a movie about. Yeah, we've gone through everything through our campaign, and now through our presidential campaign, and now through this new movement. Definitely, we're gonna be the target of a lot of negativity. Somebody has told me that I have some broad shoulders sometimes, and we can take the pressure of all this stuff. And but we have to thank our families as well. We have to thank our colleagues that support us. We have to thank everyone that gives us the energy even through these tough times. But one of those accusations that they say is that our movement doesn't have any funding to carry out anything. We're broke. Yeah, we can't move forward. And however, although we're not rich, we're not even close to being rich. We're rich because we have some really good relationships with our colleagues, and we're able to use the resources that we do have very efficiently. And proof of that, see, we cannot make these things up. Proof of it is all the free workshops that we've been offering you all this year. We started offering free workshops starting at 4 continuing education credits for everyone at a time where no one's out there giving anything for free. There's other agencies or organizations who are charging up to $130 for 3 credits for court interpreting, to be exact. Regular DSHS approved credits, they go up as far as 80 or 60 bucks, but we're giving them away. I'm not throwing this in anyone's face or nothing. I don't want everybody to misunderstand me. I'm saying that we're giving away workshops worth 4. And next week, as we carry into the next section or the last section of this podcast, we're going to talk about next week's webinar. And guess what? Next week's webinar is 7 continuing education credits for free.
Kaboom!
For free.
Kaboom! Kaboom!
So we might be labeled as being broke because we don't have $1 million mansion overseeing the sound over there in Seattle like some of those leaders over there do. We don't have a multi-million-dollar view of the sound, as they call it over there in Seattle. But we know how to organize ourselves. As you can see, we are able to bring you these important webinars. Historically speaking, no one in the state has ever done this. Offer you a 7-credit continuing education webinar for free, especially during a crisis. Add that factor. So what
Now,
are our intentions? What are our capacities? Yes, go ahead.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Anastasia. We have 6 minutes, but we want to show some of the documents that we have been asked to provide. Okay. So this right here, and we're going to continue with that workshop conversation, is Secretary of State, Articles of Incorporation to Washington Interpreters. If you see the effective date right here is February 5th, 2020. That's our UBI number. We have nothing to hide. This is, the Secretary of State of Washington and custodian of its seal hereby issue these Articles of Incorporation to Washington Interpreters. So what are we? A nonprofit labor organization. With that said, I'm going to share another document because it's funny that they would say that we're not a legitimate union, but their union is also a nonprofit labor organization. You have to start somewhere, and you start by registering. You don't have to have IRS status to file for an election, okay? To compete, to actually organize interpreters. We have to have all of that when we have the election with PERC, and we will. So with that said, I'm going to share another document with you guys that addresses, okay, who we are as well. Hold on. I'm going to put this right here and share the screen so you guys can see this. We're almost done. Okay, so what do you see right here? Okay, this is the Articles of Incorporation, Washington Interpreters. Okay, there you go. And the registered agent, I'm not afraid to put an address. I'm not going to be, dumb or, crazy enough to put my address. We have different addresses for these purposes, which are business addresses. So there you go. Juan Medina Blois, I'm the registered agent for this, corporation. And look at this, the purpose. The purpose is Washington Interpreters is a labor union registered as a nonprofit labor organization created to represent interpreters and to collectively bargain with their employers to improve working conditions, benefits, wages, to promote higher professional development standards for language access providers, to advocate, sponsor, initiate, promote, and execute activities and policies that will further and enhance the profession of interpreters and translators while promoting cultural awareness. There you go, effective date, January 30th, 2020. And this is our board of directors right here, okay? So, and we incorporated this. There you go. So, feel free to go to the Secretary of State and look at the corporations. It's a free service. Any labor union is a nonprofit labor organization. And when they say that we don't have the power to represent Illinois interpreters, guess what? They don't either. Just like you read from Joe Sachs' email when I was addressing on behalf of Washington Interpreters that we should all have the same benefit to meet with them. And he acknowledged, yes, nobody represents Illinois interpreters. Guess what? WUFC may have experience representing the SHS interpreters, but they don't have any experience whatsoever representing Illinois interpreters because there's no union for Illinois interpreters. We're all in equal footing right here. And I wanted to show you this to dispel rumors. We don't just, attack people randomly, personally, or say things. We give you the receipts. We give you the facts. So with that said, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to let everybody, say goodbye. From our staff, thank you so much, everybody, for being with us today. We have a couple of minutes. We may be able to hang here for any of you guys that want to stay, asking more questions and stuff like that. We're going to stay if the platform allows us. It's the first time we do this, but thank you for being with us. Thank you for interacting with us. We didn't have a lot of time because we had this platform a couple of days ago. We didn't have a lot of time to advertise a week in advance, but we're going to be having these virtual meetings with you guys, broadcast as virtual union meetings where we have this COVID-19 situation. We will keep providing resources. Like Anastasia said, we're going to have a 7-credit workshop with a very special presenter other than myself next Saturday. And this is going to be a benefit to you. You're not obligated to sign our cards. That's a bunch of nonsense, hogwash. What we want you to do is to please give us an opportunity to be on the ballot. That's what we want you to do by signing our card, and then you choose the union that you like when you get that ballot. So I'm going to share a couple of links there, and I'm going to let Anastasia, Elena, and Vero take over, saying goodbye. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you everybody for joining us. I really do want to say that, yes, you guys are right. I read a few of the comments that say we don't need to prove everything that's being said about us. I agree. We don't have time. We're all volunteers. We have our personal lives. We also all work, like we've already mentioned before. But we found this one to be important since it's saying that we are not even a union. So we decided to prove this one wrong. And like we've always said, listen to all of us. Listen to everybody. Do your own research. Figure out what is true, what is not true. We will give you the information that we have and show you where to go, and then you can search it on your own so you can see that we're not making it up. But like I said, thank you for joining us. If you guys ever have any questions, I am from Tri-Cities, so those of you that are with us from Tri-Cities, feel free to come up to me and I can sit down with you guys when the coffee shop's open, or talk to you guys through the phone since our coffee shops are closed.
Well, thank you everyone for taking this time, especially now on Sunday. They were pretty busy. Well, we're not. But I just wanted to say that fighting for our rights doesn't make us losers. That's it. Still fighting, and we're not losers.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. It's an honor to have this interaction with the entire state. This podcast is intended to reach the entire state. It was a little bit short notice. We'll be working on that. We'll definitely increase the participation by the next time. The webinar that we're offering next week, April 11th, it's going to be 7 continuing education credits. The other presenter is Pastora, and her workshop is interpreting in mental health settings, therapists and interpreters working effectively together. Pastora Hernandez Barbie will be the presenter. It's worth 3 credits. Juan will be also following up after her with his presentation worth 4 credits. If you have already taken Juan's workshop, then this year, then you can't retake it again based on DSHS's new decision. But you can definitely join us for the beginning of the presentation with Pastora for 3. If you haven't taken Juan's workshop before, by all means, stick around and you'll get the 7 credits total. Just wanted to make sure everyone knows that ahead of time so you can plan accordingly. Please join us next week, April 11th, around 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going to try and structure this webinar as best as possible so that we can all be comfortable from home, and we can enjoy this, and we can all take advantage of this staying home order and staying safe and catching up on this continuing education where it doesn't become a factor and affect our certification during a crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. If you want to hang out for a few minutes, we'll be here. But as of right now, we are ending the broadcast with the topics, but we're going to hang here for about 10 more minutes. And then if you guys have any more questions, I also emailed you a link if you want to, if you feel like, you appreciate what we do, our advocacy and workshops. I emailed you instructions in the link to click on it and see our authorization card. This card does not make you a union member, does not make you paying dues to anything, does not make you a member of any political party, but this is a card, allowing us to be on the ballot for the upcoming Illinois election and to help us continue to give you these credits, these webinars and everything. Like Anastasio said, if you have taken my class this year, DSHS updated their policy. So you can come to the workshop, even if you took my workshops, this year, but you won't get credit more than once in a 12-month period. I want you to know that. You'll still get a certificate of completion, but you can only get credits once for my 2 workshops. But come, and a lot of interpreters haven't taken my workshops anyway, come and enjoy Pastora's, workshop, which is going to be 3 credits. She's going to be the first presenter. And so we're going to email you a registration, an invite to register for these workshops in the next couple of days, maybe tonight or tomorrow morning, so you are ready. Thank you so much. It's going to be, Emiliano asked, how long is it going to be? We're working on the kinks right now of this. We're going to have everything ready for tonight or tomorrow morning, but it's going to be 7 hours, for sure. and we have to factor in the breaks and the event. So it's going to be at least 7 hours, because it's 3 hours from Pastora and 4 hours from my workshops to equal 7 credits. So it's 7 hours, 7 credits. This is awesome. Now find somebody else that does that for free. Okay, so we're doing this because you're awesome, because we're awesome, because we love you guys, and we want to do everything we can to help our situation collectively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Right, it looks like everybody's signing off. So thank you, guys. Thank you. Let's end it and have our debrief. Bye-bye.
Okay. Goodbye.